Hey guys, Harsh here, back in video. So today I have a very large unboxing for you. So this is the Indian Air Force Sukhoi Su-30 MKI Flanker H in the special Independence Day livery by JC Wings, and this is the only model that is produced in the 1:72 scale, and I have already reviewed the 1:200 scale version of this particular aircraft. So I said why not get the 172 scale model as well. So here it is. As you can see, it is absolutely gigantic. I mean, you can see with my hand how big this aircraft is. So we get a lot of pieces over here, as you can see, with the missiles pilot. There is also one in this packet as well, some ladders to put it on a display stand, and we have some information about the aircraft also. And let me just remove this plastic piece so we will be able to see some more information about this aircraft and the history. So this basically tells us all the history about the Sukhoi Su-30 first, and then this particular model, which is the Independence Day special one, and we also get a authentication card right over here. And this is only manufactured in a limited quantity, so only 600 of these were ever made. So regardless of that, let's just unbox it and see what we get inside. Pretty nicely packed, although I should say it's a standard packing, which is the blister pack in all the cases of these models. So here it is, and I am going to just drop the box over there. Okay, so here's the model itself, and up here we have all the missiles. So let's just do a quick assembly video. There are two different configurations in which you can display this. One is the in-flight version with all the landing gears detached, and another one in which all the landing gears are on the aircraft itself. Taking the first layer out, and we have the aircraft itself. So let me just take it out very gently. I don't know where to grab it from because it is so huge, so let me just grab it by the wing. And pretty sure I broke something there. Let me just check. Oh, it's still in one piece. Nice. So here is the aircraft itself, and the rudder here is a bit loose, as you can see. This is the problem with JC Wings. They make these rudders movable, but sometimes they do look good, sometimes they don't. Here's the card, as you can see, very nice detail, and we have again all the information about the aircraft itself, so pretty nice. And up here we have a little instruction manual, looks like. So Su-30 flanker, okay, nothing on the other side. So we have two options, with or without the landing gear, which is the A version. So if you follow steps A1 to A9, we'll get the landing gear version, and if you follow steps from B6 to B9, we'll get the in-flight version. But for the in-flight version we need a stand, which currently I do not have. So here is the model fully assembled, and let me just show you what the underneath looks like. So as you can see, we had to install 3 missiles on each of the wings, and I currently don't know what the name of these missiles are, but do let me know in the comments if you know that. And as you can see, the landing gear area is covered with this piece over here, and it is same on the other side, but as you can see it is a bit skewed, so it is out of place a lot. So if you just press it in, then you can see it is in place, but this is purely a quality defect. So I think JC Wings should improve their quality a bit in terms of fitment of the parts, and I have to sand down the tabs on these missiles a bit so that they stick properly inside their designated spot. And that is because I think what they have done is cut the slits out, placed the missiles in, and thought that they were perfect, and then painted them over, which added a layer of thickness to the slots, and that's why they are now not fitting properly. And I have to sand the paint off just to make sure that they fit in the wing properly. And at the front there, you can see here we have the front landing gear cover. It is quite nicely placed, but there is a very prominent color difference between the panel over here and the main body of the aircraft itself, and I think it is not quite showing up on the camera, but if you look at it in real life, then you will be able to see that the body is in slightly matte finish and the cover here has a more metallic finish to it. So these are some of the faults that I have found out, and if you look at the paint over here, then you can see we have a slight bleeding issue going on the air brakes as well. So just keep that in mind when purchasing this model. So as always, let's start with the front, and as you can see, the front is quite nicely detailed with this grey nose cone, and there is a nuclear symbol there. I am not sure for for what reason it is there, but it does look very nice. At the front you can see we have this antenna going on, and I have broken it one time, so I have to use Fevikwik to stick it on, and from now on just use a tape roll and place your aircraft just like so that it doesn't put pressure on the little stick over there. Now moving on to the top, there we can see we have the fuel port, and it does come with a cover, so we can just cover it up, but I like it sticking out, so I just kept it that way. I mean, it is quite easily to pull out, just like so. You can see it pulls out, so you can just stick it back in just like so. Now moving to the other side, you will be able to see this tracking camera. So this is, I think, the main targeting system that the Sukhoi aircraft use for their target locks and missile systems. So that's pretty nice, and I mean, it could be more detailed with the paint job, and actually the paint is coming off of from here, so I'm not going to touch that even further. Now if you move to the further side, we can see we have our Air Force logo, the Indian Air Force logo, and then beside that we have some sort of text written. So let me just try to see if I can read it properly or not. So I think I cannot read it, and I am guessing it's written completely gibberish, so not quite sure what they were trying to do there, but still it looks pretty good though. I mean, if you are looking it from far away, then you won't be able to notice any difference. And moving on to the cockpit, it actually, the canopy opens up, so if you just push it to the downside and then open up just slightly, so then you can see the canopy opens up and you can see the inside of the cockpit. So let me just improve my brightness. Then you can see the inside of the cockpit, and finally we get a joystick, some handles and buttons on the dashboard, but that's about it. And at the back seat as well, we have the joystick and the front control panel, which is pretty nice to see. Quite nicely detailed cockpit. I mean, right now what only we have to do is just paint the aircraft on the insides of the control panel with a small brush, so that we can make out individual buttons and all that stuff, but still the model looks pretty good though. Now moving to the back side of the cockpit, you can see we have a few more antennas which are quite nicely detailed, and they come pre-attached, which is pretty nice to see. I mean, in the Hoppy Master Apache helicopter, few of the antennas were not placed, so I don't know for what reason, but in this case they are quite nicely placed onto their respective position, and I think they are quite sturdy, so there is, I think, very low chance of breaking them, so that's pretty nice. And we get another text, so let me just try to see if I can read it or not. So it is something written, but it is completely gibberish for me, and I don't understand gibberish, so I think I will leave it there. Now moving on to the air brake, as you can see the slit is cut out pretty nicely, and that is for a good reason, because the air brake props out. So let me just place it real quickly and show you how it works. So you just lift this panel up. If you have long nails, then good, otherwise you won't be able to do that. And here we have a sort of piston which locks into a special hole designed for it, so let me just try to find it. And there it is. So this way the air brake works, and as you can see, if you place the model just like so, then it looks pretty aggressive as well. And if we talk about the details on the air brakes, then you can see the hydraulic piston is quite nicely detailed with some grey paint and silver hydraulic push rod. And if you look at the back side of the air brake, then you can see where it locks in place. And once you are done with your fancy showing, then you can just simply pop it open, the piston will fall down, and then you can close it up just like so. It may take a bit of fiddling to get used to this particular system, because it is not very good as well. Just like the fitment on the front of the cockpit, it is same with the air brake as well. Now one thing I have seen is that if you turn around, here you can see we have the cannon for the Sukhoi 30, which is this one, and usually what happens is this area is not painted, so it is left to grayed out, but in this case it is painted orange. And if I quickly just show you the 1 to 200 scale version of this same aircraft, then you will be able to see that in this particular case this side is painted all silver, because I think the fumes and the dust from the cannon, it goes out and ruins the paint, so they just leave it blank over there. But it may be some sort of reinforcement, I don't know, but still it looks more detailed in this particular version rather than the larger version, which should be more detailed, as it is more expensive, almost I think 4 times of the cost of this one. But as you can see, it is more detailed in terms of the slits and the vents cut out. So as you can see, they are pretty nicely detailed, although I think if they were black or grey color, that would be pretty nice to see. Now moving to the other side, if you can see, as I have already said about the landing gear panel, it is quite not the right color, but still looks pretty good though. And if I zoom in on the instructions there, then I don't think I will be able to make out any of them, but they are quite nicely printed. I mean, if we knew what was printed on them originally in the real aircraft, then I think from this we will be easily able to determine what was written where. And if I have zoomed in, then you can see we have some small rivets joints going on all over the aircraft, which I think were not visible when the camera was zoomed out. So this is also a pretty nice detail. Now if you look at the engines, you can see they are quite nicely detailed as well, with their warning signs, and nice and hollow, so depicts the real aircraft, but you won't be able to see anything inside them because they don't add that much detail in the aircraft, and that's something we have to live with. And you can see we have some few holes as well for the stand, I think, but I don't think stand goes there. It may be for the missiles that may be sold separately, because for what I understand is you can fit at least 2 missiles here and here. Not sure about the underneath of the engine intakes, but I'm quite sure that in the Sukhoi aircraft you can put 2 missiles in these slots over here. But for this configuration, I think it looks pretty good with all the missiles that it has, and the missiles are quite nicely detailed as well, as you can see, with the fins and the color scheme of them. Although I think they could have been more detailed with the warning markers that they have on them. And here you can see at the back we have some few marking as well, and the rivet joints are quite clearly visible on the green side as well, as you can see. Also on the landing gear panel, you can see we have few more markings. So let me just try to zoom in on them and see if I can read them as well. So yeah, I don't think they are big enough for us to read, so just gonna leave it there. Although I think they tried to print the right thing, but the ink sort of messed it up a bit. I mean, they couldn't print any smaller than this size, so not a huge complaint there, but still it looks pretty good though. Now moving to the top again, we can see we have few panel markings all along the wing area of the plane. This is the panel, I think, in which they tell you not to step on, so that's pretty nice. And here again we have some gibberish written over here, so if any of you are familiar with what this is written, just let me know. I mean, they look pretty cool though. I mean, they are quite clearly visible as well, although the text in the yellow box is not quite visible, but I think that's okay for the size that it is printed on. And then you can see all the way to the wing, we can see we have multiple rivets, panels, and the slits cut out for all the other stuff, such as the ailerons, the front thing, I think it is called the stabs, I think, I don't know. They pop out and create extra drag when the plane is landing or doing whatever slow stuff it does, and it goes all the way to the middle there. I mean, let me just try to zoom in and show you. So you can see we have all the joints there, and I think these are screw joints, not the rivet joints, so let me just correct myself there. And for some reason they are numbered. There you can see it is written 2 there as well, and there X, so that means that you won't be stepping on that panel anytime soon. And also we get our Air Force logo there as well on the wing, and I think it is on the underneath as well, so let me just, yeah, it is there, I missed it, sorry for that. Now moving on to the rudder, I think this is the best part of the aircraft, because you can see we have the Hawks logo. So this squadron that the aircraft belonged to was called Hawks, and they were painted in this color for their, I think, India's 58th independence, so it's pretty nice to see that. And we can see we also have the serial number, which is SB008, along with the Indian flag, although it is missing the giant Ashok Chakra, but still looks pretty good. And on the rudder you can see we have all the joints and panels as well, which are quite nicely visible. I don't even need to zoom in to show you. I mean, it's quite clearly visible. Although if you are watching this in low quality, I will just recommend you to switch it up to full 1080p to get the full quality. And if you look at the back elevator, then you can see we have again these sort of markings going on, which I still don't know what they are used for, but looks good and cool as well. It adds a more military-ish look to the aircraft. So I think these are degrees to which the back elevators move, but I'm not sure. And talking about the back elevators, you can see engine afterburner outtake, which is right over here, and as you can see the engine is not painted in any color, which is, I'm guessing, the same reason why they painted the gun put silver over here, as you can see, which is of course due to the heat. It may cause the paint to burn up initially, so they just decided not to paint it at all. But the paint job and the finish given to the aircraft is quite perfect. I mean, this looks like out of factory aircraft with no sort of wear and tear going on, which looks cool, but a small wear and tear on the engine would have been nice to see. With the, I mean, if you know how the engine wears with the heat, with its extreme heat, is that it turns slightly bluish in color, bluish or purple. so that gives a really nice look to the plane, and it is a holographic sort of pattern as well. So really looking forward to seeing that on future planes if I purchase them. And then if you look at the back elevators there, you can see we have the slits cut out as well with the number 2 for some reason painted on there as well. And at last we have the back tail, which I don't know for what reason is so long, but what I know is that at the back there is a parachute which slows the aircraft down as well in case of emergency, I believe, because I don't think these aircraft uses the parachute every time they land, but the MiG-29 I think does every time it lands. All the MiG aircraft I think they do the same thing. Every time they land they just open up the drag chute and let the aircraft slow down. That is to protect the brakes on the wheels for some reason. And obviously I don't think these aircrafts have reverse thrust, so they don't have any stopping power there. And at top of the rudder you will be able to see that these sort of small stubs are sticking out, and I think these are for the fuel dispense. So every time the aircraft is heavy and it needs to land, so it needs to dump some fuel, so it is done with these ports over here. So a very nice detail there as well. I mean, it is quite small to add, but they still have done a, I think, pretty decent job at adding it. And if you look at the rudders, then you can see that the flaps on them do actually move, so you can put it in any direction you like, but I will just keep them straight because I think they will break off eventually if you try to push them to their limits. And the left rudder is actually a bit loose, so it is just flapping here and there every time I turn the aircraft around. So maybe using some packing and stuff to make sure it doesn't move around a bit, because that is just a disaster waiting to happen. So there is the aircraft in the in-flight mode. Now let me just switch to the landing gear mode and I will show you how it looks. So here's the aircraft in gear down mode, and let me just tell you what I have done. So as you can see, I have replaced the fuel port with the one where it is reseated inside the plane body. So this is what it will look like. And if you move on to the underneath there, then you can see we have the landing gear, which is quite nicely detailed with the lights poking out with silver paint on them, which is obviously very nice to see. And the front landing gear flap, which is obviously have the same defect as the closed one with the fins in color shade, but that's pretty minimal I think now. And as you can see, the landing gear looks absolutely beautiful with the grey paint and also with the wheel protection, which prevents stones from flicking off and going into the engine. And then if you look at the main landing gear, then you can see a single piece, which was, let me just tell you what it looks like. So this single piece, as you can see, was first placed in there, and then it was replaced by these separate pieces and then the landing gear itself. So pretty nice intricate design they have done over here, very nice to see. And the back landing gear as well are quite nicely detailed, as you can see all around. It looks pretty good. So there you guys, there is the Sukhoi Su-30 MK or MKI with or without the canards. I'm not sure. It is a highly debated topic, so people who are in the Air Force only I think knows what this model is. So will you like it? And if you want, you can also check my 1 to 200 scale review if you can't afford or can't find one, because this is only made I think in 600 quantity, and this one is still being produced I believe. So this is from JC Wing and this is from Hogan Wings. So anyways, I will leave you to it to decide whether to buy it or not, but it is an absolutely gorgeous model. I mean, if your father or some relative is in Air Force, I think this is the perfect gift to give to them. So thanks for this video guys again, and I will see you all in the next one.